So I'm going to rant in this one about being super Christian. And I'm not going to frogwa people. And, frogwa is like when you take a duck and you force feed the duck, and then it creates a duck liver pate. Basically, the liver becomes extremely fatty, and then you spread it on toast. So the world has a way of doing this to you. I know with religion has a tendency to do this too. It has a tendency to push things on people and to force feed people. But I know Jesus never did that. He never frog-walled anybody. A guy would come up to him and say, "Hey, I want to follow you." And he knew the man's heart, and he'd say, "Well, you're going to have to give up everything you own." Because he knew where his value was. He knew what defined him. He knew that's what kept him noble, was what he had, and what he loved and what defined him, which was his things and his possessions. And the man said, basically walked off and was like, "I can't do that." Right? So if you ever feel like a pride or something bubbling up in you when you see these things playing out in the earth, you have to realize what you're watching is what we deserve. And so when you see like the super heterosexual flag, and I think it's the porn hub colors and stuff, you gotta realize they're pointing and they're telling you, they're giving you exactly why it's happening. It's the Pornhub colors. So when we decide to force feed children sexuality in cartoons and in I'm not talking about Pepe Le Pew, but and we had on billboards, and it's in order to get an R rating, we had to make sure there's enough cussing and foul language and foul concepts and ideas. We were frog-wine children, and now that we've taken that, I guess you could say heterosexual pride that's been around forever and a day, and now we are now it's kind of what happens with stuff like bacteria is, sitting in specific places, it starts to multiply. And so that's kind of what happened with sexuality. It just started to multiply and spread and change its form and become not biblical. And now the same beast that we had originally created by being a society who decided to love sexuality and not in marriage, not honoring it the way it should be, now the beast has been created, right? We created something like a I guess you could say a Frankenstein, and it's looking back at us and it's saying, and now you're going to be force-fed. You're a hateful person if you want to be with somebody who creates children. You're a bad person, because even though you're straight and everybody else is allowed to say, "Hey, I would prefer this," you have to be forced to prefer what doesn't create children, what actually would make you the opposite of your sexuality. I mean, if you prefer the other sex, then you would be not straight. So if you were somebody who appears to be one way but has the parts that are the opposite, that would make you the opposite sexuality, the other, So there's a confusion that's occurring on purpose. So you just got to realize you're in, as a saint of God, being super Christian. You have to realize you can't place your foundation on there. You can't say super heterosexual, because that doesn't define you. You're super Christian, meaning we don't care about sexuality. It's not a thing in the kingdom of heaven. In the kingdom of heaven, there's no marriage. So if there's no marriage, there's no sexuality. So if there's no sexuality, and if there's no race, and there's one race in Christ, then you can't partake of this Pornhub colors. So I know that means like you feel like you have to put your weapons down, but you have to pick up the armor of God. This is my rant. My rant is be super Christian. Don't frog-wah people. We deserve whatever's coming. We created a beast. We didn't nip it in the butt. Now it's come back to eat us. Same thing with the culture of death. We don't mind that 46 million innocent people died who are probably better than us because they were in the womb when they died. They were innocent. They weren't born into sin yet. They're better than us by a long shot. And they died in that state. It's still in God's arms. And, everybody wants to play God until God comes back around and starts nipping, 500,000 here and a million there. 500,000 is half of a million. And there was 46 million people who died last year that everybody didn't mind and didn't think about and didn't even flinch at. And the standard, a lot of people want to say, oh, your God is not the God of everybody else. Well, you tell my God that. You tell the God of the universe and of the heaven and the earth. When you see him, you tell him that. Okay? Because I don't study theology most of my day, just naturally, listening to sermons, listening to the Bible, because I'm not seeing things that aren't connecting. It's not like I'm listening to fairy tales. I'm not. I'm watching something that's actually playing out. The science is slowly but surely realizing. It's like when the scientist and the philosopher and the theologian get to the top of the mountain, there God is, and his name is Jesus. So, just in case you're wondering, I just think the partaking in this and just watch that Frankenstein that was created by us, that we refuse to nip in the butt, eat us back. Because that's exactly how it works. You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. You sowed sexuality into the culture, and now it's eating you back. It's going to eat itself eventually, just like in Sodom and Gomorrah. It'll eat itself, but you just got to let it happen. And just this is a battlefield for the saints. So this is God forever looking back at you saying, and when you get your way, this is what happens. When you reap bad things that are against God, it will come back to eat you. It will get bigger than you, and it will become a Goliath, and God won't be there to protect you. God won't be there to save you from your own Goliath that you created. So if you want to be in Christ, you want to get to heaven, you got to just let these things play out, because he'll destroy the society one way or the other. And our society is not worth living very long anyway, in my humble opinion. And that's my opinion, because I don't know how much blood has to be shed before. And it's so crazy because we think ourselves victims. And, I get it, because it happens to me too, where I'm like, oh, well, we got to fight fire with fire. And don't people know this is wrong? And that's like, no, man. The only person who deserved to get what he got was Jesus. We created this, and it's going to eat us because we reap what we sow. So this is Live Christ is King forever. May God be with you.